Everybody, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5:31 p.m. We have a quorum here, so everybody making their way to their seats. If you haven't had a chance, you can grab an agenda at the front here, or you can sign up for public forum if you want to speak here shortly. We're going to make sure that our technology is hopefully working this time. We've got a backup for our backup, so hopefully we'll get a recording out of this one. But we're going to go ahead and get started for the sake of time. All right.
Did Jeff log in? Yes. Jeff logging in?
I don't see him yet, but we're watching it, so let's see if we'll let him in. Good. All right. We are moving forward to agenda item number 2, public forum. I haven't got any forms turned in. Is anybody speaking of public forum? If not, going once, going twice. All right, we will move on to approval of meeting minutes. I know our secretary, Mr. Curtis, is out today, but he did sign off and hope the group has had a chance to review those. Any motions to approve or any corrections that everybody saw?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Guy.
I'll second.
We got a second?
Yeah.
I think I heard Mills first. I'll go with Mills. All approved say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. All right, motion passes, minutes are approved. All right, we're gonna jump right into our next one, discussion, and let me actually make the screen go so you know where we're at. So we've got discussion, consideration, and possible action for the Fannin County Lake Economic Development Committee member vacancy. This has been ongoing for a couple months now. Ms. Stephanie Legal has stepped down a couple months back, so right now we're in a situation, we've got two options. We can either choose a nomination to fill that seat as of today, or we can pass it for next month, or we can vote to not fill it and choose to do that at the new year when everybody will be up for the next round. So I know I've had Adam has been one of the nominations. Shane Williams has been one of the nominations. I know Mr. Mills last time had a nomination. We haven't spoken with him, so not 100% if Russell's in the mix. But those are the two that I have noted now, unless anybody else has a recommendation that they would like to nominate right now.
I would just throw out that we may want to get one of the local real estate folks who is an attorney. Because at least one of those comes to mind, but I don't want to throw him under the bus. And we may want to get a surveyor who can draft one. I've got some ideas on it.
Okay. Good call out. Which I will mention, I do know the lawyer you're probably referencing, and he is in the mix behind the scenes, so everybody's aware. He's a go-to if we need him. He's more of an escalating point rather than being committed full-time. So. But that is a good call out. I haven't heard the surveyor one, so that's definitely an interesting one as well. Does anybody else have a recommendation or a motion? Anybody have in mind?
Well, they ought to take Russell's name off. I talked to him today because he does a lot of, not traveling out of state or really out of the country. He just got back from Africa yesterday and maybe go to his mom's funeral a while ago, so he's kind of, wants to, I guess, hold off for a little while, you know. But he said anytime got any questions or if he can help in any way, he'd be more than happy to help.
Awesome, well, I appreciate that, and hopefully you get to enjoy retirement for a little bit longer. All right, well, I guess.
I had a question.
Yes.
Sorry. Judge, did you have a surveyor in mind that you know would be interested?
Not offhand, I know several surveyors, but it's sort of like you gotta trick them into getting close enough to catch them.
Surveyors are very busy.
Yeah.
An engineer, I have a hard time getting surveyors out to sites, so.
That is true. I know there's only a handful in the county, so I'm sure they're booked, but definitely something to look into for the future.
The date that were reinstated or voted on again to go into the board?
So there's either the option to nominate for this meeting for the remainder of the year, so we can either elect somebody today to fill
When is
the 10th seat.
Remainder of the year, that's what I'm asking.
To the first of the new year.
Okay.
So January 1st would be the renewal time period for this group.
Is the voting renewal set, the entire board is renewed every year, or is it staggered?
So since we all came on at the same time, technically, I believe the actual bylaws read that we're in for, it's either 3 two-year terms or 2 3-year terms, and I could not guarantee which version it is. I'll review that and get back with you. I think in theory, it's your officers that are nominated at the start of the year, so it's gonna be your chairman, your vice chairman, and your secretary that would flip on the yearly basis. And then as a group, we're in for at least 2 to 3 years, that's when the group nomination would happen. Now, the staggering will get interesting, after the first one that comes around, since we did come in together. But I expect, there'll be people that come in and out, that'll have staggered terms, and that's one of the seats currently. So they'll be up along with the officers after the new year, just one seat.
Well, I should make sure I clarify that people know, if I end up being voted as a seated member, it would be not through the Honey Grove Redevelopment Partnership. Currently, I'm sitting here as a representative of Honey Grove Redevelopment. Honey Grove Redevelopment has a single seat.
Yes.
If I were to be voted in, it would be under my engineering company that serves the engineering needs of the community.
Yes.
And then the Honey Grove Redevelopment would have its own seat separate from me,
That would be accurate. Thanks for clarifying.
just to make sure.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Honey Grove Redevelopment getting 2 seats.
For sure. All right, well, has anybody got any thoughts, any comments, any motions? We wanna leave it open till the new year? We wanna put one of our 2 nominations? We got Adam and Shane Williams. Shane has been the one, I think he was here last month, sitting in the seat. So both proxies, both been here, not new faces. It's just a matter of who we want involved.
I think we could put somebody up now, couldn't we? I mean,
Good.
there's not even necessarily any reason not to.
You absolutely did.
I'll make a motion to do that,
Okay, what's your motion?
to vote on a new member.
To vote on a new member, okay? Which member would you like to vote?
Well, I guess we need to have a second if we're going to have a vote, correct? Sure.
I'll second.
Okay.
Somebody second that, right?
We got Dan with the motion to do the vote, John with the second. All in favor to do a vote today between our 2 nominations, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Perfect. All right, well, head to head, who do we wanna vote? We've got Adam and we've got Shane, to decide on today. So we can either do it as a hand raise, we can do it as anonymous cards, what everybody's most comfortable with. I'm open to suggestions.
So could you explain what you were saying earlier?
Well,
Is that, like, is that you just moving a position and then there's another position that's open that has to be filled?
So Jeff Saba is who sits, he is representing Jeff as proxy currently,
Okay.
which
Right,
is,
so Jeff, myself, and Lisa are members of a LLC called the Honey Grove Redevelopment Company. Jeff is the named member of the committee,
I got
but
you.
any of us are allowed to sit in. Today, I'm sitting in as Jeff's rep. If I were to be voted onto the board, it would be as a separate seat relating to my engineering services, and then Jeff or Lisa would be sitting in the Honey Grove Redevelopment seat, if that.
Thanks for
Exactly.
clarifying.
yeah, good question. Okay, well, nobody raising any names up?
Well,
Do we wanna put it on a piece of
paper, or we gonna say it out loud? I'm gonna vote for Shane.
Secret
Okay,
ballot.
well, I guess I'll tally down below. We got 1 for Shane,
Shane.
we got 2 for Shane,
Shane.
we got 3 for Shane,
Vote for Shane.
we got 4 for Shane,
I'll be open and vote
we
Adam.
got Adam, all of a
But
sudden,
you already was obvious.
which.
Sorry, Adam. I didn't know, I thought you were already on the committee.
No,
I
no,
didn't
no,
know.
that's fine.
I thought you were already on it.
One more Shane,
I'll abstain.
and one more Shane. I believe that is the majority to rule for Shane for this vote. We will move forward with nominating Shane as our designated member for seat number 10, starting this month through the end of this year, and that will restart that term. He'll be in alignment with us, at that point for timeline purposes. All right, I guess we'll make a motion to nominate Shane. Anybody wanna make
So
that?
moved.
Yeah, Mr. Curry made a nomination.
I'll second.
You got second by Adam, all in nay. It's not a pretty one, but I'll make that work. Okay, moving on. So into our big one today, let's make sure nobody's waiting on that. Making sure people that wanna get on can get on. Okay, next up, we've got discussion, consideration, and possible action for the Bois Lake Comprehensive Plan. So we did extend the invitation to the commissioners, to the Bois Lake Zoning Commission. They may join online. I don't see them here today, but I will go ahead and show them the screen.
You've actually got me here.
That is correct. I got two of you, so
Yeah.
close enough, right?
3.
Where's
Or
my third?
Wagner.
You didn't see him. Oh, you're hiding back there. Hello, Mr. Wagner.
Incognito.
Alrighty, so on the screen here, if you haven't seen the comprehensive plan for Bois Lake, this QR code will take you there. This is the 2016 version that has been adopted by the county, that has also been through 3 city schools, North Texas, and this is what has been the comprehensive plan to date. From here, we have gone through and made some recommendations on what we think should be changed. Now, open to input, this is purely me in all of my free time, going through and making some corrections. So the biggest thing that we called out is the naming convention. Originally, it was the Lower Bois Creek Reservoir, or the LBCR, which is no longer accurate. It is Bois Lake or BDL. So that's the most low-hanging fruit, but bigger update throughout this whole plan will be just to update the naming convention. So as you can see on this first page here, we just made that minor update to Bois Lake, and that will exist throughout the plan here. It was roughly 30 pages in total. I won't bore you with every single page, but overall, you know, there were a handful of changes throughout. So I know I had sent this, hopefully it made sense, through my email of what I did and did not do, but red pretty much means remove, yellow is proposed, for naming convention. So again, just removing the old name, re-inputting the new name, and adding in any new information that didn't exist at the time of the adoption of this document. So the lake opening, the date that it opened was a big one. That happened after this document was created, so that was called out somewhere in this document. I wanna say the next page, there's some history here. All the footers need to be updated, that's another low-hanging fruit, but every single page is like that. One of the things I also noticed on this page was the link that was headed towards something North Texas has been updated to boilerplate.org. So that link no longer works, that was in this document, and I have inputted the new link that is accurate today. That yellow line is the date that the lake opened, as I mentioned. We'll just keep going through, so again, you know, before they had rough estimates of the acreage of the lake, I did the exact acreage. You got a couple comments in here about the date. Let's see. Trying to see if there's one with a bigger change. So this page had a little bit more to it. This is, let's see, page 5. Page 5 had a couple more updates that I was able to find, more specifically about the transportation improvements in the area. There were some new numbers available, which I had referenced those sources on that Word document for everybody. It was not very easy to integrate the two systems, so for now, the sources are on the Word document for a lot of this new data, so that we can refer back and make those adjustments in the document once we get to final stages here. Some of the bigger updates, you know, TCOG had some updated information and stats across the board. There was the ability to add some additional planning documents that we didn't have before, including this committee, as part of this new adaptation here that we wanted to call out. And of course, the maps. All of the maps have the different naming conventions, so not all of them properly work with highlighting, so my apologies. It's just not a very user-friendly thing, but consistently, the naming conventions are changing. It's pretty much the key information here. Majority, so these ones with the red circles that I put on there are the ones that still need changes to them. These are purely missing some data points. I had pulled the sources, but I did not take the time out to go ahead and input that information to make sure that we're in alignment on the sources before we just start pulling it all together, because it will require new graphs and charts to be made for this particular section. The big thing to call out here is that what we recommend in chapter 1 will dictate what's in chapter 2. So that is part of why we're doing this in bite sizes, is we need to make sure that all parties are in alignment on this chapter 1, because the information within it will dictate what's in the rest of the plan. You know, we can't move to chapter 2 until chapter 1 is done, and it's pretty tedious behind the scenes, so we also want to be mindful of that. Of course, when we present to the Board of Zoning Commission and the Commissioners Court, ideally it's in a big package. I was hopeful some others would be here tonight to see the big picture for planning purposes, but we'll be just fine. They're in the loop. I spoke to them, what was that, earlier this week, end of last week. So they're in the know of what we're doing with this and the plan to take it chapter by chapter until we can kind of speed this process along as we get further into it.
Where are you checking the population of the county?
So-
What's the source?
Great question.
Video and census below.
So when I went to the sources, what I did, for example, on this chart, you can see the source reference below the chart. I took that source and I went back to it and I found the new version from that source of the same data. So it's just the new version of the same report. So that way we're not using any new sources, we're not using any new, really anything other than most up-to-date data within here. I did find, the Fannin County website does have demographic breakdowns that looks like somebody's doing it. Somebody's pulling this information from the census, updating it, where it's got the gender breakdowns and, you know, the workforce breakdown. So that may be something we want to use instead, since it is a Fannin County resource that's pulling from these sources. But that is just something to note. But to explain the question, the sources that you see on the page, they're the same sources, just new dates for the reporting.
Are you proposing to continue the chart and add every single year up till 2026?
In theory,
2025 or whatever?
yes. The charts are not very user-friendly, so it will require a complete rebuild of these pages. Hence why I have not done that yet. I wanna make sure that we're all in agreement before we go through that process. But yes, we would not remove any data, we would just continue on, so that we can see the full picture of what they had and what new information exists. Ryan, I think you might have a
Well,
question.
I was just curious, did you say that you updated these with the most current dates down here at the bottom?
I did not,
Okay.
no.
Right,
They're in
so-
my, Word document.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, anything with the red circle, not
Has
good
something else
to
in
go,
there.
needs some work. So, but, continue on, this was a big one that had a couple changes I was able to find, directly from the TCOG. So there were some new data points, that I was able to pull and have the source referenced out on that Word doc as well. Just minor updates to the population counts that they had slightly under projected for the time frame. So I wanna make sure that we included that. Nothing changed on the map here, thought it was a good visual, so just
Yeah.
fine. Yes.
One more question. If you're gonna continue the data,
Mhm.
and in my review and my homework, there were some analytical elements that were
Mhm.
done based on the current data at that time.
Right.
Are you proposing to do that analysis and say, here's the trends that we've seen since 2016, since it was last updated? Or are you gonna proposing to do that analysis to say, here's what we're seeing in our growth percentages over the last 5 years, and here's the annual, or here's the, like some of them were the average income levels,
Mhm.
the average population, the average employment, the percentage rates. Are you gonna evaluate those trends?
That would be accurate. We would take, the newest information available. So since the adoption, this document will live on. It'll still be the 2016 version. And way down the road, when we get this version adopted, it'll be, that chain event where you'll see both documents side by side realistically on the websites, where you can get the old one, you can get the new one. So for instance, on this type of page, that paragraph needs work because it matches the charts. So when we update the charts with the newer information, we will update that paragraph information to reflect the newer data to show the current trends since the last adoption.
I mean, it's a pretty big can of worms you're talking about, you know, I mean, we're both engineers here doing this kind of work, and, I mean, it's one thing to state the facts.
For
like,
sure.
Here's the current percentage, but to evaluate those trends and say, here's where things are going, here's where we need them to go, in order to create a healthy mix within the region.
It could get a little tricky, and if you know those two, that looks wonderful, if you've seen those exact areas, it might put us in the right direction. So not opposed to, you know, leaving a lot that is as is, we're not trying to make, you know, estimations of what's going to happen, you know, we're just gonna base it purely on facts that we have the data for to prove. But that in my mind is, you know, the thought is update it based on the newest information and what those trends currently show us, not really telling us, you know, what it could be. So there could be, you know, some spots that we might have to tailor specifically for that.
You know, like it was talking about average income levels in the county. And it said how much disposable income there needs to be in order to support, you know, the lakes and.
Right.
And
Yeah, a couple of those are a little
all that
tedious, so there may be some rewording structure on some of those pages where that may not be the highlighting point, but we do have, you know, the county breakdown to show, you know, what the average, you know, household salary is, those kind of numbers that we know are ironclad, that we may lean more into versus that situation that they had originally.
Hannah, let me say this.
Yes.
When you start messing around with our demographics, you affect grants. And a lot of times being poor is very helpful to becoming getting grants. So let's not pump it up. If anything, I'm not saying pump it down, but let's go with the facts, because that can clip off something. We may be getting a chunk of change and all of a sudden we're reporting here that that's not the case, and whoever it is takes it away from us.
Correct, so that's why the sources will be ideally approved on before we make those major updates, because we're purely going off the data that exists. We're not making data up, to accommodate what we're
But
looking
the
for.
trouble is, there are probably 5 or 6 different types of data out there.
Well, we're gonna go with the sources that they gave us originally, so that's why I went ahead and found a new version of those same sources, so that we knew they were approved sources, and those are good to use, and those are the same sources that the Fannin County website's using as well, so I know they're the right source to be pulling from, it's just a matter of pulling it together.
We just need to make sure the sheriff's using those.
That's for sure.
I would recommend reaching out to TCOG, because they would be official, whatever they helped us with.
Definitely.
And that they're, I believe that, I know we used North Central Texas card info
Yeah.
here somewhere, but
And they may be the best resource to get these particular demographic breakdowns, you know, we may have a source there to
I'm saying,
do it.
let's ask them if they will help us redo this.
Yeah.
Plan, essentially the same plan, but go through it front to back.
For sure.
Because sometimes they have their own internal grant funds that
Right.
offset efforts like this.
Yeah, no, would love to do that. Do you have a direct contact
Yep.
through TCOG? Feel free to send that to me, and, we'll kick that off after this meeting and see if they can help us, through this particular process.
They're updating their CCNs, which is mentioned in here.
Yeah.
They're updating that right now.
Right, okay,
So that, I mean, that's one of their main charges, is to be current, be the EDA's source on that information for this
Definitely.
region.
yeah, and we wanna make sure, you know, at the end of the day, that it's consistent between all these different groups out here, you know, the county should be consistent with TCOG, TCOG should be consistent with the North Central TCOG. So really, we're just trying to pull all that data together, that way we're not doing any conflicting, because right now, you know, what's happening is people are reading this 2016 adopted version, and they're seeing the old RV regulations that we know are not the same anymore. They're seeing, you know, the different right-of-ways, for roads. So when a developer sees that, they're getting this information. Now, it's not to say they're not supposed to do their homework, of course, but we should make it as clear and clean as possible so that we're not having too much confusion. So I know Di gets a lot of unnecessary calls, because of that, so we wanna make sure we're just being as efficient as possible.
Well, and I wanna add, I mean, that the extra exercise, we're going through and reading this and marking it up.
Yeah,
That's wonderful anyway. It will help.
definitely.
If we have somebody like TCOG to work with, it'll help regardless.
100%.
We need to do that, so we're not wasting effort, it's just, that's a lot of digging.
It's a lot of
Yeah,
data.
'cause I mean, sometimes TCOG would be providing the service,
Mhm.
for their members.
Right.
And for those that are doing their own or being done by another, like this is done by the county, this is done by North Texas
and
originally.
Freeze, yeah.
So that they may reference this up to a point, but at some point, they may take on doing the updates.
Right.
Because they're on update, I mean, doing the comp plan, which is called a comp plan for TCOG, they would be required by state law to do a regular update, and I can't remember the updates every 5 years or 10 years or whatever. But they may have this on their charge at least, that they're responsible for it going forward
Yeah.
at some point in time.
Yeah, we'll definitely kick that off, that way, we don't have to do extra work if we don't have to, that would be wonderful. So yeah, we'll work on that, I know William, you're gonna get me that contact, and, we'll push that forward, so I look forward to it. All right, any other comments? I won't go through this entire thing, but overall, the big thing is all the charts and graphs need to be updated with the updated data, from the sources we provided. We're gonna reach out to TCOG to see if they're gonna be able to assist us on that. Very minor updates, throughout. I changed the Google Earth image here that was from, I don't know when, but it was old, so we just did a new snapshot of the same intersection there and just kind of updated any data that made sense to do so. Any questions, I guess, from the group here?
Is there any copywriting problems off of this, being not, that it's not ours?
No,
Done by
because
Fraser
it's-
Nichols?
There should not be any copyright, because it is a Fannin County adopted document. So taking what they have existing, and doing what we want with it is purely, comes down to y'all adopting a new thing and making it work.
Yeah, my understanding is that Fraser Nichols was paid handsomely by North Texas to develop this for the county.
Correct.
And the county, if you look at the background, we participated in every aspect of it.
Correct.
And most of this is citizen input.
Yes.
And if you go through, when you look at, the next chapter, which is 31, it goes into all the meetings that were held.
Oh, yes.
And Fraser Nichols was taking down what the county was saying they wanted, and what the citizens were saying they wanted. And I think if we contacted, Fraser Nichols tomorrow, they'd say it's ours. I think it's pretty clear that it is ours.
Yeah, and we reached out to Freese and Nichols, Guy reached out to them to see if there was maybe a Word document or the original file format. They're gonna be sending us over the special design file, so hopefully we can get that working, but they did reach out, they're willing to help us, getting us the right original file, so we will take what we can get. But yes, we have reached out to them, they are willing to give us what we need, so should be good.
And I don't see their copyright on it, didn't you?
Didn't notice the copyright,
We only have
so,
30 pages. It's not that
well,
bad.
that's true, it could be hiding in the back somewhere,
I
but.
actually got the
The whole thing,
thing
on the
here.
very last page.
There you go, there, that helps.
Yeah, on that photo you replaced, it may be interesting to have side by side.
It's very bad for
so you can
it's not a copyright mark.
show the changes.
Before and after?
Yeah, some changes that
Copyright's
it's updated in the
a little
future.
different.
Yeah.
And see
Yeah,
what changes.
definitely. Yeah, we could definitely, include, the previous image versus the new snapshot of the aerials,
Just like the charts, the charts show all the historic data.
Yeah,
Pictures can do that too.
definitely. And a lot of the imagery that's in there was more
That's our
mock-ups,
history.
like what they wanted it to look like versus we may have stuff as we get deeper into it of what exists now, and that is a better example to show. So in due time, I'm sure we'll get to the picture phase to be able to do some replacements. Obviously, the Marina doesn't exist yet, so we can't snapshot what we want the Marina to look like. But so we'll keep a lot of that in place, but there is a new private boat dock, so we know that there's at least something visible on that front from the boat dock perspective. Buildings wise, there's some houses that are built that could be a better example of what's actually happening out there versus what we have documented. So several of those things to come, but it's a good cause, Steve, I appreciate that. And I wanted to mention on this page, I would say this is one of the more tedious updates, that I did with the school districts, but this was the most up-to-date information from the big school district education portal that I could find. Just kind of showing the trends through the schools and a dollar figure, just showing, where we're at today side by side with where it was projected to see where we're pacing, overall. So kinda doesn't make the trend, but it shows a trend if you're reading along with it in theory. And let's see, and I believe a bunch of these are maps, question mark. I know we were talking about removing some pages to see if we can condense it down. I don't know if it'll be that easy to do that. I believe the reason why there's some of these blank pages and some of these just straight up image pages is due to front and back printing purposes. So I have a feeling that's why it's set up this way, so I don't want to break it, but we will account for that, once we get to the end. If we notice there's an equal amount of blank pages or an equal amount of just picture pages, we can probably move forward with deleting those, but we will wait until, we see the final product before making that change. But I know that was a lot of information, but I really just wanted to show the group, where we're at. It seems the Bonham County Zoning Commission, is involved, with recommendations. We got a couple of those members here today, and we're just keeping it in front of you guys so that we can make the right recommendations on how to move this forward without getting kicked back in chapter 3, of the process.
Well, I haven't seen anything here that's bothersome.
Well, that's good to know. Well, I guess any questions from the group or any comments, concerns, anything you wanna point out, on the
I
side?
have a question.
Yes.
Is the board, North Texas Board of Directors not able to really change this comprehensive plan anytime they want to?
This is a Fannin County document, so the North Texas Shoreline Management Plan is a document owned by North Texas. This document is owned by Fannin County and is the vision for this lake from Fannin County. So.
But in theory, North Texas could change it almost any time, right?
No.
I mean, not this document, but.
The Shoreline Management Plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they do adoptions every 5 years. They do updates to
I
that
think in the
document.
fine print though, it says that they can.
They can.
They can change.
They can change their shoreline management plan.
Yeah.
That is correct.
And I bet they consider the, Boulder Lake Comprehensive Plan updates as part of that, as part of those revisions.
That would be accurate. So, this is a little bit of a partnership here of, this is what we like to show them, this is where things are progressing. Here's some new information, and that'll probably be baked into their future updates. Historically, they adopted their first shoreline management plan in 2018, and then December of 23 is when they did that 5-year update. So I would expect the next one to be roughly December of 2028, if they're following that same trend. Debatable, they could wait to 10 years, but I have a feeling
They
they'll
can
probably
kinda do
do
what
it
they
in
wanna
5
do.
years. Exactly. Great question.
You mentioned the service area in the very open pitch degree. I was wondering if we could get a map in there, like we show Fannin County in Texas, but I think it'd be cool to see the water district's service area.
The water district service area? Yeah, like Boulder Mud?
Yeah, well, you refer to,
The North Texas Municipal Water District serves
Service
Collin
area.
County, yeah.
is it just Fannin County and Collin County, or does it have a?
I don't think they go beyond, I don't think they go beyond.
North Texas has Wiley and a bunch of other locations. We are a minor part.
We go to,
But
it's like McKinney
the
and.
CCN.
That's why.
But I think they stay within Collin County.
That's why I'm asking, that, like, you see the,
They go to Rockwall County.
Think
they
we're-
go to
is
all
that
the
the same
counties.
page?
They're pretty dang big.
Okay.
Lavon does those.
And they're not only in
Which,
the water.
I may understand what you're asking,
But
there's,
yeah,
I know in Lake
they're-
Rock Hall, I've seen one where it shows like a CCN water overlay to show like which water districts overlay the lake area. I know it's in, I have a feeling in a later chapter in this one, but it would be interesting to show like Bodark Mud is the water provider
I
of
like
this
that
lake.
idea, I like it showing the local.
The local
Yeah.
water
there's no,
rights.
there's no just district boundary.
I don't think there's a district boundary, I mean,
Yeah,
I
well,
think,
there's an overall district boundary.
There is,
but
yeah.
it would just be a,
Pretty massive, I don't know.
Yeah.
that-
it would be kinda like that
Big highlight.
NC TCOG map concept.
You reference DFW,
You're gonna light up that part of the country.
you reference DFW, which is shown in some other maps in here, but then there's nothing that shows like what portion of DFW is in this water district.
They're gonna be CCN documents. They actually have a area that they have a monopoly in. They they may not have water meters here yet, but it's theirs to serve. They have an obligation, they're a public utility, they have an obligation to serve anybody who's willing to pay to have the service brought to them.
Right.
And the capacity, if you need 5 meters, and they have to put a new well in for that, you've gotta come up for the cash to do it, but it's their obligation to do it if you come up with the cash. And so I have seen maps showing where the various, water districts are around, Lake Ralph Hall. And similarly, there's something out there for, the lake up here, Bodart Lake. It's there.
Yeah.
Right.
So there is a CCN view that you can.
I know what you're talking about, William. I'll see if I can find, the North Texas map to reference here, just as a general high-level overview before we dive into it deeper. Cause, as you get further into the document, I know there's the CCN overview, and then there's also, a physical constraints map that shows water lines, electric lines, some different things. And then there's also the watershed
Are you
map,
saying within this?
not within chapter one.
Later on.
Yeah, it's further, it's buried.
All I've read is chapter 1.
That's okay. That's all you were assigned to do, so.
You're not going for extra credit, huh?
That's right.
But there is also a watershed map, within this that'll show where the water's actually running off of that fills this
Yeah,
lake.
and the point, the reason I'm saying that, it shows Fannin County, but
Yeah.
what the judge said, that's just a small portion of the area where some of this water serves, and where the growth will benefit from it.
Definitely.
Here's what we service an area of 2,200 square miles. And Fannin County is only 900 square miles.
You know they have a line map somewhere. on that.
This one right here is interesting to me to possibly update, because that's really, and it makes sense to me as a DFW type of centralized around the DFW area, because I think that's probably a conversation of where kind of the district's mindset was. But for Fannin County specifically, I think we could be interested in add possibly Grayson County, Harris, or the northern part where it actually includes Fannin County as well. It kind of shows that just not the DFW area, but growth that's affecting Grayson County, the TI and everything that's going in that area. I mean, this is gonna be a destination place for, not just the DFW area, but Texas that region as well.
For sure. That's a good call out, because yes, there's a lot happening, as we know, in Grayson County right now, and the Red River area, so lots of new maps, I'm sure, that exist in here.
Yeah, that cog doesn't include Grayson or Fannin County.
It does.
No.
No.
No,
It's the next level up.
Yeah.
We're TCOG.
Right.
So
I
just
thought they
think
were like
and
TCOGs in
North
Central
Central,
TCOG.
no, North Central Texas Council of Governments stops at Holland.
Oh,
It's kind of like Region C.
This is part of the reason, like what he just said, that's part of the reason why I went back and wrote on the first one, because we updated.
I see.
that map.
Gotcha.
It's like, when you're looking at this map, what portion of that is?
Right, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So really, instead of using the NC TCOG, we should be just using
No, they use
TCOG?
both of
Or
them.
both.
Or
Yeah,
side by
just
side?
both.
And I just, and what I'm saying is just put a line on it.
Yeah.
That shows what portion of, the overall area, like that right here.
Yeah.
Has there been any discussion of Grayson and Fannin joining NCT cog?
It's a different region, I think it's broken out in region.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's not serving much of our county.
So on the Texoma Council of Governments, they're set up in areas for a reason. They don't cross lines.
That's why here's my.
They don't cross funds, they don't cross snap centers or nothing. I mean, it's set and,
No, this is.
I don't know who set all of the population wise or whatever, but there's some counties probably, some TCOGs probably have more than 3 counties in them, but
Yeah.
ours is, we do the Texoma Council of Governments. It's got juvenile boards from all 3 counties, it got the SNAP centers, the food programs, the Meals on Wheels and all of that.
Whatever agency they have the obligations, okay.
So the deal, but as far as what the population is coming from is fine, but, I mean, if we show what expect that the water Board Arc is doing for Fannin County is zip. We're not drinking y'all's water.
Not yet.
We're just housing it.
Not just yet.
Judge already found a map.
Perfect. Send it to me, Judge. Appreciate that.
Doesn't look good. The only place they're serving, is part of their CCNs, Bonham. Now, all the rest of us are out, we're not being served.
Right.
Our agency, that is a group of the entities in the county, have a right to buy water from them.
Right.
But as far as them providing, service in the county, the only place they're doing it is Bonham.
Right.
It's a resource.
Yeah, but good find, because yes, we can blow this up and do more of the, here's your high level, and then here's our TCOG version, and kind of, give as many maps as we can. People are visual, so it's a good call out. All right, any other discussion items for this one? I know this is gonna be an ongoing topic for a while, but just really wanted to kick this off with something to look at physically, in our hands, just some updates, but we'll go back through and, find some additional maps, integrate those resources if we think those are the good resources to use. We mirrored it as best to what exists currently, and just getting that updated data point in there. So we're not telling people what's gonna happen, we're just telling them what has happened today. But I guess I'll open up any questions, or if we want to move on to the next item.
I was curious on page 27,
Yeah.
that one of the new entries says that there was, based on residential lake developments completed during 24-25, approximately $2,390,117 in annual property tax revenue was generated from growth. Is that just from primarily land value increases?
So that would be from new communities that went live around Bodark Lake. That's a data point directly out of the
And
Fannin.
it's actually generated that much tax in the school district, just without even.
So it went from roughly, several hundred acres of land to roughly 500 individual lot sites that were sold, and at this point have been resold to individuals, so.
And most of those would have had ag exemptions prior to.
That is correct. So you're seeing the transition from people paying the $20 and $30 mark to, we're flipping to,
And there's a rollback too. They pick
There is a
up
rollback.
Years in the past.
yeah.
5 years, right?
So it's really hard to
3 or 5, I
capture
think,
just how big of a figure that's going to be, but it's really just to show that's a handful of communities that have come online that didn't exist at the time of adoption. To show, pacing wise, they had projected 5 million between the 3 ISD school districts, and we are already sitting at 2.3, and that was before, I believe, 2 communities, have come online since then. This is based on, I wanna say, I may have put the date, 24 and 25 years. We're missing 26, and it's almost 27 already again. So, we'll have 2 more years of data to come. The CAD has not been very user-friendly as of lately, so apologies, I do not have the 26 data, but this is a pull directly. I went and hand-pulled every single individual lot, and I added them up, because everybody has their unique, property taxes because of different things, so.
It went over above.
Yeah, so, I would say this is a low projection, this is a bare minimum look, happening here, because you've got several clubhouses that were not incorporated here, which will never have children, of course, the clubhouses for the community, so those are all baked in. And I believe this represents roughly 8 houses, and there's closer to 20 to 25 houses today, so pretty substantial changes happening in the near future.
But just the dirt turning into lots.
Exactly.
Yes.
Big
Jumps the
transition.
value. Those lots were $1 million.
Yeah.
So if you got an acre that's going for $1 million, and before its ag value is generating $3 a year, that's a substantial tax
And it's a big win for the school district, we like to point it out a lot. I know Bonham, I think, has the short end of the stick out of everybody in this group. They've got a very small bubble, compared to where these neighborhoods are really gonna exist. There's gonna be a lot of those private, single-family homes that exist in the Bonham ISD side. I don't foresee those massive neighborhoods that are 75 to 130 lots apiece popping in, but, we gotta share the love. Sam Rayburn's another one that hasn't quite got the love yet. At the whole north side of the lake, there has not been a new neighborhood on that side just yet. Obviously, there's individual lots, that go for sale, but as for full neighborhoods, there's nothing on the north side, so Sam Rayburn has not seen as big of an improvement in their property taxes compared to Dodd and Honey Grove currently. They've had the biggest influx in the last 2 years.
And in your review of things, have you seen any reference to, in that same line of thinking that you're talking about, because a lot of these lots are being sold as second houses, they won't have any kids, they may have kids, but they're not gonna attend the school district.
Right.
So they're gonna be contributing to the tax base, but not
Yeah.
being a burden on the school district.
And this page kind of outlines that a little bit, as I was rereading it, now that I'm more involved in actually understanding what I'm reading more, a lot of that's already kind of embedded in here, just saying that that is the big benefit to Fannin County, is all the additional tax revenue to the school districts with no additional strain, because that is, you can't really pay for that, it's one of those things, so. Ideally, I'd love to get in contact with the school districts down the road to really learn how are these dollars impacting the schools, if there's no new children, are we seeing new extracurriculars, are we seeing teacher increases, like, I'd be curious, to see those breakdowns, and something we'll put in line, with the Boat Lake Zoning Commission, but it's an interesting stat to get a hold of eventually to see, does this improve the programs across the county?
Is it strictly focusing on the 5,000-foot radius, or is
Correct.
it counting on, because like, you extrapolate along 82, there's farms for sale that are also, that's a spillover that's gonna.
Definitely.
tax
So
the-
this number is isolated to your new neighborhoods directly from the lake. So these are
Within
gonna
the
be your
5,000.
lakefront communities that were developed. This has nothing to do with the commercial, this has nothing to do with your average farm, this has nothing to do with your standard individual home site. This is purely just net new neighborhoods where they went from a big ag parcel to, they filed a plat with the county and they have these big one-day sales. That's what these numbers are coming from. So, like I said, you're talking the bottom line, you're looking at worst case scenario here. In theory, that number is actually higher in the big picture, but this is just showing you a snapshot of what's truly net new driven from the lake.
The houses are gonna develop slowly, and it's probably 10 years for the neighborhoods that are currently being developed or built out.
Sure.
But if you go down 1396, see the neighborhood down there, the points, you're looking at 3,000 to 6,000 square foot homes that somebody's gonna use on the weekend. They're not gonna have kids there, but that's gonna be their weekend getaway, and their exemption, they're gonna claim on their home in Dallas, the big house.
Yeah.
And, so they're not gonna have the over 65, and they're not gonna have the vet, or that's all gonna stay with their place in Dallas. So we're gonna be getting on those, homes a lot better deal than the Bonham's gonna be getting on, homes that residents are actually living in, that are not using everything.
Yeah. And one thing I'll call out, the largest neighborhood that exists on the lake today is Boat Shores, has 136 lots within it. And in that particular neighborhood, it was the second one to come online since this lake opened up. The Peninsula was first, that one opened November of 2023. And the appraisal district undervalued them to where now there's too big of a gap in their taxable revenue, to where it's gonna be a weird stagger for the next 3 years. It'll eventually catch up, but it's a few years out from catching up to where it should have been at initially. So there's a couple of those things that aren't accounted for, but something we have, documented at this time.
They can only go up like, what, 10% a year or something?
Correct. They had some that they valued in the 200s, that now they're really 600, so there's a 400,000 gap, that they have to close over the next 3 to 5 years.
Homestead, they can go up 30% per year for any of the non-homestead.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's higher than the 10%.
Yeah.
You see all of that.
But it's enough that it's delayed, some of those triggers from happening, but that's one of the particular neighborhoods that was undervalued early on, that, the CAT has adjusted accordingly at this point for the other neighborhoods, but that particular one, which has 100+ home sites, is in that tiered status right now of reaching max revenue capacity.
You got a cap on the old value, new value doesn't have a cap on it, so when it comes in, you better hit them at, the max for new value.
Yeah, important to know how to approach your property. All right, anything else come to mind as we're looking through chapter 1? And y'all are welcome to reach out to me direct, I'm happy to talk it through. This is a mixture of Di and I working behind the scenes to kind of build this, and hopefully we can tap TCOG to get us to the finish line on this one, but really just wanted to give y'all a look at some updates, since it hasn't been, it's been a decade since this got touched, so we wanna make sure that we're showing some progress, and as the public kind of tunes in, they're seeing some improvements as well, that's kind of the big thing here.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
And you've already mentioned this, but I wanna, just to clear it up a little bit for me, is we're not going back and changing nothing backwards. All you're doing is starting off where they stopped
Correct.
and going to make it more up to date, so in case somebody, wants to bring in a business or anything, they can look at more up to date numbers.
Exactly.
If you're not doing nothing, you know, changing nothing in the past, you're just going from there forward.
Correct.
To help bring in somebody, because everybody wants to look, they wanna look at data, and they, you know, it's been, let's say, 13.
Well, this
10
data that
years
exists,
old.
although it was adopted in 2016, the majority of the data was actually from 2013 to
Yeah.
2015, so you're actually looking at data that's, I don't know, 12 years old, so a lot of things have changed, you know, projections were low, a lot of things have changed in DFW, as everybody's well aware, things are crazy over in Grayson, that was never anticipated, so there's a lot of things triggering all around us, that projections were low, that we need to kind of set the tone, that there's some different numbers out there now. But yes, to answer your question, we're not removing any of the old data, it's purely adding on to it to show the new version of that same data.
And you've done way too much already, I mean, you've done a lot, and I just wanna tell you, for me, I appreciate it.
Well,
Don't know why you do it, but you do it, you're doing a good job, both of you and I both, and,
It's called nervous energy.
I
Nervous.
I get it, you're doing a really good
Well, I
job.
appreciate that, Gary, and, I will mention, I will not be doing this for every chapter, this is purely for representation purposes, for chapter one, we'll find a cleaner way to do it moving forward, that way it's not so like this, but we'll probably pull it out, put it on a Word document, make it a little bit more interactive, so it's not so tedious, we're sitting there and taking a few days to go and highlight some words in this document. But really just wanna give everybody a visual, since this is what we're used to seeing, this is, you know, what the plan is, in the big picture, and we'll kinda work on the behind the scenes of how we're gonna format it and work through the different groups that need to approve it, but we wanna make sure that everybody here got a chance to make our recommendations, and just kinda keep this ball rolling for the group.
Cause it is a playbook for our county, and it will set precedent to what we get done. If it's done right.
Let me ask you, is, in bigger counties, are they, a little committee or something over that, or somebody that's supposed to be, why has it been so long since something like that for the county's been updated? But if it was a bigger county, you could hire more people, is that done like different, like in Collin County, do they keep their stuff up every 2 years, or?
I'll mention this, we're still in the zone, so it's every 5 to 10 years, and we're now close to the end of year 10. So we're in the threshold of when this would normally be, updated. I would say now that the lake is open, we're gonna see a little bit more of that transition moving from 10 years down to 5-year updates instead, because things are gonna change very rapidly, as we've already seen, you know, the first few years of the lake being open, there's been substantial changes around the water, so we wanna make sure we account for that. And I would anticipate the next, you know, once we make this next adoption, the following 5 years will be the big one with the Marina, that'll be your next big update, I would anticipate, and the numbers will drastically change at that point as well. I'm sure lots of tourism dollars will be more easy to account for at that point, you know, maybe Bonham will wanna get involved with all the dollars they're gonna receive, as the tourism comes out to that way, maybe wishful thinking, they'll have some new numbers for us, but in theory, you know, it's every 5 to 10 years to answer your question, and as this progresses and gets more well-known to the public, I would expect it every 5 years moving forward.
And is this gonna be, repackaged as an update, or is it a new document? Because if it's an update, like, on the first page, it talks about has the updated
The
date on
adoption,
there.
yeah.
Is it gonna be shown as a revision or a new document? Because you may need to show any changes you're doing, you may have to footnote them as being revised because of who was the original author, and they're no longer responsible for those revisions. Or is it gonna be repackaged as a new document with a new title, so to speak, and it's all, now it's taken on by somebody, other parties?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I would say, given that Freese and Nichols in North Texas paid for it, they're probably not gonna pay for it again, so they don't wanna be responsible for this moving forward, would be my thoughts behind it. So I would say, we would make references, you know, to the original would still be available on the website, as I mentioned, but this will probably be a new package of the 2026-2027 voter play
But
comprehensive
it's
plan.
obviously not plagiarized, but
Right.
a lot of their document is carried forward.
Correct.
And it's gonna be, but, so, like I say, as engineers, you know, or as whoever was the previous author,
Yeah.
we'll need to either somehow officially carry forward their work and annotate what's been edited
Mhm.
or changed or added or whatever, just since we're just now starting chapter one.
Yeah.
As you've done, I mean, that needs to be somehow footnoted or tracked as you go forward as to what the edits have been.
Right.
Not necessarily show what the before and after was, but
Yeah.
to show that it has been revised.
Yeah, and we can reach out, you know, to Freese and Nichols to see exactly how they want us to reference, you know, their original, since it did come directly from them. Cause of course, we don't wanna plagiarize, we don't wanna, you know, I know a lot of money was spent on it, so I know that's a big part of it. Hence why we're also doing it ourselves at this point. I know the county doesn't have the dollars to pay.
I think it's your document.
Yeah, so it's one of those, you know, we'll run it by the right parties, we're
They
gonna
may
change.
say, we'll just scrub our reference off of it and you can
Yeah.
use our information,
Right.
obviously, the majority of it.
But we'll get that in writing one way or another.
Right.
We know it's a Freese and Nichols document for sure, and we'll work on getting that, you know, designation.
Right.
If it's good to use and we don't need to do anything extra, or if they need us to do a special call out at the end of the whole document, we'll work through that, but it's a good call out, Steve.
I would probably, rather than saying adopted on such and such a date, I'd put revised
Yeah,
on
yeah.
such and such a
Right.
date. And remember, it's gonna be revised every 5 years, so we don't
Exactly.
need, 5 versions of this. I
Correct.
won't be around this evening, but we don't need 5 versions of this on the county webpage.
Definitely. Good thought.
At that point, if you have an acknowledgements part, you know, at the very beginning, I think your name should be on that acknowledgement. What you're doing, so.
She don't wanna be the only one responsible for
I
it.
don't know if I'd be
She's gonna say the committee. She's not gonna take all of it.
Yeah, I'll make it the committees.
But
But-
I would consider that, just put like add acknowledgement up there.
I remember
We
seeing-
worked on it, we
What's it, like
revised it.
chapter 7 or something, but we'll call out, you know, all the people involved in this, that way everybody's documented, that'll be a big part of this. I know, you know, previous commissioners were documented, the previous judge were documented in this, so we'll make sure that's reflected where they're still called out, but we're getting that updated information in there, and we'll visit that in future chapters. So,
Like
you know,
county has one for Tawakoni, you can,
Oh,
as an
yeah.
example, you can.
appreciate that.
Just in case she's keeping track of volunteer hours, she can put that.
Well, don't
there.
keep track, I don't know what clock I'm on, so I wouldn't keep track of that. All right, anything else on the comprehensive plan at this time? Okay, well, we'll go ahead and just pass, I'd say the more discussion, I like to keep them all ability to vote on them, just in case something happens. But for now, just a discussion item for today, to go over where we're at, so we'll keep making progress and giving continuous updates as we move forward.
So is there homework for the next meeting on chapter 2, or what's this?
Well, that's a great question, Steve, what do you think?
No, I'm on the committee, I'm just sitting here, I'm in with the crowd.
You're in the crowd.
I don't have any homework.
Give us homework.
Volunteer homework.
I would say y'all are more than welcome to read chapter 2. Since we've read chapter 1, it's about time to get started on chapter 2, if you haven't read it already. I will work with William on reaching out to TCOG and see, you know, if they're gonna work some magic for us on these demographic numbers to see if we can get a final product of that chapter, or if they'll be willing to do the whole thing, we'll see. But we'll work on that piece. If everybody wants to take homework to read chapter 2, I will send that out to the group. That way you can take a look and get familiar with it. But lots of good information in there, so. I know every time I read it, although I've read it 50 million times, I see something new every single time that I just didn't read
I
before.
would just add in, gentlemen, you've got, I and Commissioner Fogelberg are on the TCOG board of directors. So we've got about 3 or 4 different groups here just that are here. So be careful what you say in front of us.
Or else, yes, we're glad for the representation. It helps us move everything along. And, yeah, we just wanna make make sure everybody's in alignment, so that when we go before the Board of Zoning Commission, the Commissioners Court, TCOG, it's not new information, right? We're just trying to open that communication up and be as efficient as we can.
Yeah, so is this what is envisioned by the I guess the zoning commission? Is that what, are we kind of in the right ballpark of what?
Well, I think we all wanna move in the, to improve, the environment here. And I think that we've got common goals. I think we actually, and I wanna highlight this, there's statutory goals that were the legislature outlined for us to meet in everything we
But
do.
have y'all talked about the zoning commission?
Ms. Cups actually came and presented to us, and we had a fairly open discussion about it several times. So we're trotting along in the same direction.
To answer, the document itself outlines, you know, what they originally had anticipated being the procedure, I guess the implementation plan. I had read through chapter 7, but I didn't realize what I was reading at the time, but now I'm understanding that was at least what they had envisioned. So chapter 7 would give you that answer. But in theory, you know, it starts with the Board of Zoning Commission, the recommendations come from them. This committee didn't exist at the time of the adoption, so they've kind of pivoted a little bit to where we're the starting point. I've gone there, asked for their recommendations, gotten some feedback, brought it here to this group, and that's what you're seeing here. And then from here, what we're gonna recommend to the Board of Zoning Commission, that will either get kicked back for more updates, recommendations, or it'll be good for recommendation and approval by Commissioners Court moving forward. So procedure-wise, Zoning Commission, Commissioners Court, those are the only votes that count. We're just purely here to give those recommendations. But great question. But yes, chapter 7 has a lot of useful information. I learned about how you can implement a transportation plan and all sorts of fun stuff in there. So lots of good information. All right. Any other questions before we move on to agenda item number 6? All right, let's move forward. So I'm gonna try to keep it as brief as possible for everybody. This is our discussion, consideration, and possible action for the Bodark Lake Recreation Area project. No major updates here outside of, we did get the information from North Texas, which was mainly the LiDAR data. It's a little non-user friendly, so thankfully we've got an engineer on standby that's willing to help us out on this, but he is working on some concept plans. And once we have those available, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months here, we'll be able to present some site plans for this particular North 1396 boat ramp area. The concept, you know, having the lowest tier, whether it's just walking trails and a kayak launch, all the way up to our wildest dreams of it, a booth and a beach, and we want to park and, you know, everything we can ever envision. So that way we can scale out pricing options and see what's actually going to stick. If we need to do it in phases and really just go to that next phase of planning. So just wanted to give that quick update that we're still working on it, but it is in motion, and we should have some plans in the coming months.
You know, one of the things we talked about last time, and Jason wasn't here to help us out on the user side, was help us understand the operations of that ramp, what the limitations are, I guess, primarily. And
For boating or just in
yeah,
general?
for the ramp usage and, you know, future beach or possible uses, but, you know, I, for my benefit, I wasn't aware that there was some obstructions, you know, at that ramp and limitations. Can, Jason, you know more about that?
With the boat usage is difficult on the north ramp?
I mean, when the lake's about 2.5 foot low, they close it, so.
What's that elevation versus what the normal?
532 versus 534. So they shut it down 2 feet under full pool, just like clockwork. As soon as it gets to that point, they're ready to shut down. When we say shut down, they put these big cylinder, you know, big barriers up in the lanes. The ramp itself is open for parking, the picnic table and all that is still available to the public, but actually putting your boat in the water, that's what's blocked from getting down there.
Is it because of the ramp elevation or because of?
There's the depth of the water.
Depth of the water, yeah, so there's an
It's
obstruction
only
out
like
there?
probably 5 foot deep when
It's
it's
like
full.
it's like a sandbar almost, you know, this.
How big is the obstruction? I mean, if you went out there and looked, I think that's where everybody's getting at is, how big's the obstruction if they need to go out there?
And dredges or
The
whatever.
dredging ain't gonna help that problem. The problem is that the water tails out at there in that part of the lake.
No.
And you might have 100 feet of ground that's 5 foot, like he says, 5 foot of water to 0, you lose 2 feet, then you're 5 foot, you can't travel in fire in a boat, you can't get in and out.
Yeah.
It's not a big obstruction,
Top Point that's right there is real shallow too, you can kinda see the sand
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, right there.
But it's more like that, the top ramp, like the one that's at the very top, it's like maybe 3 foot. Like, there's not that much water as it is,
Yeah.
but the one on this side, it's got like 5 foot, the last time I was there.
How's that compare to what the other ramps closed at?
The one at the main ramp at 897, I think I drafted, it had like 9 foot, like the ramp went down to 9 foot, so if the lake gets 9 foot, they would close it. The other one on the south side, south ramp, is like 5 or 6 foot.
I feel like 527 is in my mind, but I could be wrong about that, but it has not happened.
Yeah, if it
unless
gets
I'm wrong
5 foot or
today.
less, we're only gonna have one ramp.
And I haven't been there many times, but I've never seen a boat go in or out of that north ramp.
The north ramp.
We've
not
gone
many
out
people-
there, it happens.
Not too many people
but
use it.
It's
Well, I
a
mean,
select
most users
location.
coming from
Right,
somewhere
right.
south as well,
Mhm.
so.
Once, you know, the north starts happening, more people
Yeah.
will use it if they can.
So you don't wanna do is get out in your boat and come back and you can't get
Yeah,
out.
that was-
Getting out is more important than getting in.
Yeah, you can go get somebody to drive around and get you something.
Bring them, yeah, put it, drive around the
They'll
other
get
ramp.
your trailer.
Yeah.
Send me out to put a
I've had
service.
that happen before.
But this has been an ongoing discussion about, the boats getting in, this particular ramp shutting down more than the others. I would say realistically, it's a 50-50 shot, historically, since the lake is open, if this ramp has been open. So this was kind of a win-win scenario for both the county and North Texas to reconfigure the idea of this ramp to still be the ramp for 50% of the year as is, but also turn it into more for the public, as a recreation access point, whether we can pull it off and make this a swimming area. It is more of that shallow shoreline, so it has beach potential. It's got, that cove, barrier break from the wind over there. There's a lot less motor activity, which is a big reason why this is a potential swimming area compared to the other two that we did look at. There's just a lot more motor traffic at the other two, and the locations are just not as suitable for a lot of the concepts we've been talking about. The other big reason why this was discussed is the breaking up the traffic also. Although it feels further, it's no different, from the bridge, it's 5 minutes to this one as it is 897. So it feels further away, but just distributing that traffic flow out for more of your families, the high school students, whoever maybe want to go out there, to have parking out there at the boat ramp and still have access to things, even if you can't launch your boat, was the big reason why we selected this site. And it doesn't require the additional dredge work from North Texas and trying to resolve that, it's more of a, what can we do now to recreate this?
It's also nicer for nature hiking.
Exactly.
There's endangered plant species there.
Definitely.
You'll get a lot more bird, the quieter area brings more bird and wildlife.
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
And, the vision is high scale amenities and, leaving as much of nature as we can here, really just trying to blend in, whether it's a pavilion, whether it's a playground, using what already exists, very minor tree removal, for trail systems, gravel, things that are more natural, to blend in, so that way it's more manageable and, nature's not as impacted, because North Texas, we wanna make sure their water is clean,
And if
and
North Texas
erosion
would allow
control.
it, there can be rough camping sites out there.
Is that a place that would be more friendly to, like, paddling or kayaking?
Kayaking and
That would
paddling
be,
and stuff.
that's one of my ideas, I like a kayak paddleboard launch,
Use it, you
but.
can do a paddling trail with parts of wildlife,
Mhm.
launch it out there.
Yeah. But all those type of things, those are the type of things that, definitely willing to integrate into the plan, because we're just trying to hit all the different groups, the boaters, this is a big deal, we wanna make sure as many boats as possible can get on the water. One thing that we're also not, accounting for is there will be a marina on this lake that will house several boats. There will be access points to the marina for people that can't get out that north boat ramp. So that is another win for what we've known, the boat ramp, or apologies, the marina is going to be on the north side of the lake. So by having that separation of traffic flow, this is another reason why the site location is most ideal. It breaks that traffic up away from the bridge and kind of directs them to a different part of the lake. So protecting our swimmers and the children, being number one priority. And Troy Hudson, Director of our Emergency Services, is gonna be involved in this as well to make sure we have response plans. because we wanna make sure that whatever we come up with is feasible for emergency services. If we wanna swim, can we actually do that? What's the response time? You know, we don't wanna endanger people, in this big picture, so.
Shannon, did you say that the marina is gonna be on the north side of the lake?
At
The
this
shallow
time,
side, yes, she's correct, the
Yes.
shallow side, you know.
they have,
They can't even use the ramp here, but they want to put a marina on it.
yeah, they have
Float
pre-designated an area.
most of the time.
They're gonna.
They have pre-designated an area
You got one at deep
northeast
water on
of
the
the
south
lake.
side.
Jason Wise's
North of the 897
The
bridge.
bridge is just to the right, it's all shallow, trust me, the fish up here is shallow.
I lived in that part of town.
Yeah,
I used to
but
go to game 19, see Gary?
North Texas does have a meeting on the fourth Thursday of this month. I believe they're having it at 2 p.m. instead of 2:30. So I'm waiting for that agenda to come out to see if the marina is going to be on that agenda. We heard in June that they had a good meeting with the real estate committee from North Texas about the marina negotiations at this time. So in theory, best case scenario, we're hoping to see it this month. If not, they will meet again next month with the real estate committee, and then the following month, we will hear and see if it's on the agenda there. But I am expecting some form of an update later this month that I will report out on next month.
It would have already been built if they would have chose the other guy.
I can't
Seriously, yeah,
understand
they told
how
me.
anybody would put up money to put the thing over there and it closed down
Over Chevrolet, Graf Chevrolet.
because of the lake level. Is that not a concern that's brought up in that, or do you have anything to do with that?
Yeah. They are doing very, very in-depth research right now.
They need to have a meeting out there with some shorts on and walk out the damn
Oh,
water.
yeah, that's, and, I'm sure that's gonna take place soon.
You don't need shorts.
It hasn't
It's not gonna be
already.
deep enough to get up to your knees.
Yeah,
I can't see any investors putting
that would've been
myself. If they are, they don't have much good sense.
There's a lot of negotiations happening, and I'm sure both parties will make sure that nobody's getting short end of the stick. You know, at the end of the day, they want the marina to be successful, it's more dollars for the county, it's more dollars, you know, for everybody involved. Of course, the marina builder wants the most out of it, so they're gonna make
The
sure it
builders,
works
the
for them.
investors. Stan's one guy, they have investors on the other.
Correct. Everybody.
Other countries.
Why can't they
Other
put two
countries.
in?
Well, maybe they don't have much water over there.
Why can't we have two
They're gonna put a lot of
That's just
money.
not what they have designated.
Here's-
I'd say they
here's
won't, but
the
right now they
problem.
only have designated one marina.
Here's the problem.
We're the one big successful
Here's
marina.
the problem with two marinas. For a marina to work, you gotta get about 250 boats. If you have two marinas on a lake the size where North Texas only wants 300 boats on the water at any time, you can't, you're not gonna be able to fill up both marinas. It's like having two hospitals in the town where you need 100 beds and you got 600 beds. It doesn't work. So they're intentionally going with one. My concern has been that they wanna slowball it, and they hadn't gone with what would have come online pretty quickly. The one down south on 1396, they were people who would have popped it, it would probably be operational now.
April.
And instead, they decided to go up north, and they've been negotiating. You know, I hear it may go, but I haven't heard that from, I'm hearing that from people who want it to go, not from people who, on the North Texas side. So I don't know what you've heard from North Texas that would indicate that it's gonna fly. I read on North Texas, I love them, you know, they're honest, but they don't necessarily want this thing to turn into a recreational lake.
That's not true.
You wouldn't want somebody swimming in your water cooler.
If they did, they wouldn't put it up here.
We'll course
They
correct.
definitely don't care about the recreation, they care about the money from the water, that's what they care about.
Well, the reason I said two people, letting two marinas in is because ever since we was little kids, and you was playing any type of sport or any type of business, competition makes the other one better. And maybe you just said, hey, you can only put 150 here and you can put another 150 there, I don't know. There's not a great way to do anything, it's gonna be 100% other than competition will weed out the worst ones.
Well, but the trouble is, that takes about 5 to 6 years, and you're gonna end up, I've seen competition put two businesses out of business.
It will, but somebody else will buy that marina and try it again, if it's built.
Maybe they'll put a Buc-ee's on there.
Oh,
But there, what I
I don't wanna
understand
say
from North
that to
Texas is the model is you gotta have, and I'm getting this from marina operators. The marina operators are telling me they're not gonna come up here if they're two marinas. and I've talked to the marina operators.
No,
They just, and our hospital bills have gone way up because we've had hospitals who've raised the price to cover the fact they have empty beds. It's not a good model.
that's true. There's good points to both.
Yep, competition is good, but unless you're counting on something now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got competition on there. The other guy's trying to beat me.
Well, I'll mention the comprehensive plan. We'll eventually get to a lot more about the marina vision, what all the setup is supposed to be, and you'll understand a lot more about the site selection at that point. I will mention, I know it's a very frustrating thing about waiting on this marina. It feels like it's been forever. This lake just opened, in 2024. We're not even 3 years in, and what they envision and the proposal is, this isn't just your average marina that you're gonna see here. This is a high-end marina that you're expecting to see here. So they're playing it smart, and at this point, I have not seen anything personally that makes me think that they're not gonna fulfill that commitment. The actual first private boat dock just got completed as of this weekend. So yet another commitment to this county they have completed, and there's already another 6 to 10 lined up. So plenty more to come. Home sites are being built, private boat docks are being built, community marinas are being built, and I expect this one true marina will be built as well in due time. So hopefully we get that update this month. Worst case, we should have something before the end of this year, and we'll keep everybody in the loop. But I know, it's a frustrating topic, but we'll continue to push them and get exactly, hopefully, what we're looking for.
I'd go for just a gas station.
Hey, that's true.
Yes, it would be great.
And there's a lot of things,
I don't know why investors aren't looking at that.
Yeah.
When they're looking at something that.
I know, and there's a lot of things, related to that marina. Once it happens, we know it's a catalyst for this area where people that bought 10 years ago, 5 years ago, just been waiting for that trigger to happen, and you'll see a lot more business development happen once they make the announcements, publicly. So hopefully we see a lot more activity in the coming years. But I will mention that comprehensive plan goes very in-depth about that vision for the marina and what all it entails. So lots of good stuff.
Are they gonna let them put a boat ramp there, or is that something that you?
I'm not sure about a boat ramp, not 100%.
At the marina?
Yeah, maybe you pull up and just lit it, I don't know.
Well, I asked Jennifer about that, and I
Yeah.
don't think she ever really knew the answer to it.
Yeah, I'd have to see the whole plan.
'Cause
I'm
I
not
was
sure.
told they're only gonna have 3 ramps total on the lake, cause
Right.
they wanna limit the amount of boats that are on the water. So,
If marinas sometimes have a crane that puts the bigger
Yeah.
boats, we're talking about big boats that don't necessarily.
Well, they still have a ramp,
ramp.
but they push them down it with that crane, like they did at Texoma and Lewisville.
Yeah, and I would think it's all based on the number of dockable lots that they have within the lake. Each house, so that number, so they say, okay, if you have a dockable lot at your house, X number of percent of those are on the lake at any one time. X number of parking spots are in the ramps, which controls how many boats can come in there. So that's all the equation to go back to what Judge was saying is how many maximum they wanted the lake to be at full population.
I've been told they don't want more than 300 boats on the lake at any one time, and they come up with equations that accomplish that. And that means a 250 boat marina is what I understand.
Really?
If you make a bigger marina, if you make 2 marinas, you gotta do away with docks. And you gotta do away with parking spots. That's the way they calculated all this.
Marinas will be
Not
that
all
big?
250 boats will be on the water
250.
once though from the marina.
But 250,
No, I agree with you, but they got it down, I think it's something like,
I know.
15 boats, for every X number, they've got an equation.
Yeah.
And there's one equation for the boat ramp, and I think it's 1 boat per parking, space. And for the docks, it's something like 1 boat for 7, docks on the lake, and they apparently have scientific studies that let them know. I don't understand, statistics,
Yeah.
but they can predict within 2% what the actual numbers will be.
I don't know about all that.
250 in the marina, that's huge. I mean, I can imagine how far out in the water that's gonna have to be to keep it you know, not from being high and dry.
Oh, it's gonna
especially in
take
fall
2
flood
years to
water.
dredge the water out.
Oh, so
To
they are
get
planning to
the deep
dredge
enough-
it?
No, they're gonna have to dredge it.
Well, I mean, yeah.
They have to.
Otherwise,
That-
they gotta-
that boat ramp shows you everything you need to know about the north side.
Like getting in a
How shallow
bathtub,
it is.
raises the water.
Well, I mean, otherwise you gotta put a long gameway way out in the middle of the lake.
The whole north side of the lake is just a flat, like to fish it, you have to get way off the bank, like I'll fish a spot way out, and it's still only 6 foot deep.
Mhm.
I'm talking hundreds of yards away from the
Is
bottom.
North Texas really gonna let them dredge in that lake and stir up all the mud?
Right,
that's
they're
on
gonna
it?
have to.
It's not gonna-
Oh, yeah?
It's, Army Corps of Engineers.
No.
What's their order though? There's
I
something.
think we're chasing the rabbit.
All right, well, we're gonna move on to the next item and sake of time for everybody. I know it's a longer meeting today, so we're gonna move on to agenda item number 7. This is gonna be discussion, consideration, possible action. It's really just discussion topics for everybody. New economic development topics in the county lake regions. Just giving you a snapshot of what's happening behind the scenes. As I mentioned last month, Lake Ground Hall is officially impounding water at this time, so Mother Nature will do what she will, and fill that lake up in X amount of time. We'll see what happens.
What about stop raining now?
Well, it's funny, you know.
When did he-
somebody
when did they
turned
start
the
it
switch
snowing?
off
With this
for
A
rain.
month ago or two?
With this heat, it's gonna be dry before it gets any more
It's
water.
funny. But, I'm sure, you know, as we head into fall, in the spring months, we will see this pretty quickly fill
They're
up.
saying it's gonna be a wet winter, like we're supposed to.
Oh, yeah, I've been hearing about it all year, so. We will see what happens, but big call out here is the Lake Rock Hall Zoning Commission is meeting this week, this Thursday. It is the first time they have met since October of 2025. Nothing major in the sense of, you know, updates, just beyond, there's a zoning change for a special exception. They've got a line item for the shoreline management plan and all of those things. Whether or not they actually get to it is highly debatable. These have been very extensive meetings in the past, 3 to 4 hours on average, is what we've seen. Just, you know, a lot of comments, from the public. So we are in tune with this, but just wanted to call it out. If you'd like to join, it will be at Ladonia City Hall at 5:30 PM on Thursday of this week, August 13th.
And
I didn't
you've
know there
got,
was a city hall.
so you guys are aware,
Steve, where is
you've
that?
got 2 of the
On the square.
commissioners here.
The only
I am
one there.
Fogelberger on that commission also.
Yes, so you got 2 of your, commissioners here as well from the Lake Rock Hall Zoning Commission.
So
Get y'all's autograph.
Yeah.
They're on everything.
Be worth it.
economic development, can we not push for a gas station on the?
Do you know somebody that wants to build a gas station?
Man, I think one needs to go on the lake or on 897 and 82, that would be out.
Let Gary or I know,
I
we
think
find
Randy
the land
Travis-
and y'all just let us know. who wants
Randy
to do
Travis
it.
bought that land that's like right across the street from North Texas, and I think that's what they were wanting to build a gas station and like a little small bait shop or something.
Yeah, I know a lot of people in that world are waiting for the pavilion, is what I've been told, but, you know, never.
No, we don't give a
Like
bike.
traffic.
That would be a good place to start getting.
Well, you said it, I didn't say it, so, good to know. All right, just wanted to give a quick update. We went out last Saturday to do a volunteer day for Lake Fannin. It's actually the first time I went out to Lake Fannin. I've been here for several years. I've just never been out there. It's beautiful. I realize there's actually multiple cabins out there. There used to be originally 16 cabins. They're down to roughly 5 to 6 cabins in total with a lodge, a bathhouse, and some other quarters, for somebody to be there. But there's a link to their Facebook group if you'd like to go and volunteer. It is the 2nd and 4th Saturdays of the month from 8 AM to 12 PM. I followed that Facebook group because they decided they were gonna show up at 9 AM, so I didn't show up too early. So just some quick updates for you there. There is a landing page on the county website about Lake Fannin, but their big call outs right now is they are working through a water leak, that leads up to the lodge. So it has been unrentable for the county for the last year due to this water leak. But the latest update I heard is that they are working to have somebody go out there, identify it, and they're willing to pay and fix it. So hopefully that happens sooner than later, so we get the lodge back online and make it another amenity for the Fannin County folk, and anybody that wants to come out and take a look. But it does have a lease agreement that was, I believe, approved a couple weeks ago in Commissioner's Court. So if you wanna take a look at how you can lease the lodge when it's back online, that's available on the website.
You say lodge, what is it?
Well, when I say lodge, I don't know if you're familiar with the Legacy Country Club, but very comparable to their kind of open rooms there. It's just kind of a open event center type
It's
of
an
look and
old
feel.
stone building.
It's an old stone
Up on
building,
top of
but
the
it's
hill,
very pretty.
kind of overlooking
A
the
lot more
road.
size to it than I thought. The cabins need a lot of work from what I can tell. It's,
I don't think they really can.
they have not, to my knowledge, I don't believe they have in many of years for into the cabins, but it just requires some manpower and some love and some money, to get it all back online. But at a minimum, the lodge is a potential to get back online. Hopefully before the end of this year would be great, but identifying that water leak is definitely top priority for them right now. And once that happens, hopefully this will be another revenue generator for the county. Alright, this is just my quick snapshot of all the meetings that are lake oriented, for you guys for the month of August. You know, we're already halfway through the month, if you can believe it, but it's here. Tomorrow's our abatement, committee that'll be meeting. We've got Lake Ralph Hall Zoning Commission, as I mentioned, on Thursday. Next week is Commissioners Court. They will be adopting the 26-27 budget, to my knowledge, so that'll be a fun meeting, I'm sure, for the commissioners. We also have voter mud meeting on Friday the 21st, just going over water updates around Boat Ark Lake. You've got the Lake Fannin Volunteer Days on there, and then hiding down there at the bottom is our lodging group. If you want to get in tune with all the short-term rentals, and anybody that's, you know, looking to drive tourism, that's a good group that meets at the hotel in Bonham. And then our subdivision committee and our Fannin County Water Supply Agency. So, just wanted to call those out for everybody, in case you wanna join some meetings this month.
Let me mention one more
Let's do
event,
it.
and this is, I guess it's not economic development in a way, but very slightly, I won't say that. It's tied, Congressman Fallon is going to have an open house at the courthouse Friday at 5 o'clock. And it's, you know, I think he will entertain questions. So if you got some questions about development and what the federal government's doing for us, this will be your opportunity to ask our congressman what's going on.
Does he like to fish?
What's that?
Does he like to fish?
I don't know, you can ask him. I do know that he is, he actually is a runner and does
Is he the one that shoots guns?
marathons all around the country, so he's in pretty good shape. Ex-football player, he played at Notre Dame, that's the only bad thing I should say about him.
And Judge, you said that's this Friday, the 14th, at the courthouse, at what
5
time?
o'clock.
5 o'clock. Awesome. Thanks for calling that out. So yeah, if anybody wants to attend, sounds like we've got somebody willing to answer.
Ask him about Marina.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be right on that.
I don't think anybody knows about the.
Yeah, that's
I
for
don't think
sure.
North Texas.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna move on and wrap it up for today. So discussion and possible action to set the next regular Fannin County Lake Economic Development Committee meeting for September 8th, 2026 at 5:30 PM here at the Darrell Hall Education Center in Bonham. Do I have a motion for that date?
Be here on September 8th at 5:30.
I'll second.
Got a motion, and we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. All right, approved. We will be back here next month, the second Tuesday of the month, and our favorite of the day. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion.
Jason, we are officially adjourned. It is 6:59 PM. Thank you all.
And thank you, well done, as always.
Have a safe trip home, Judge. Hopefully that, road construction is volume.
I drove out that way, I'm not gonna drive back that way.
It's actually smoother, man, that road's actually smoother now, if they just have a green gravel. Asphalt has dips in it.
Just